My name's Mike Rowe, and this is my office. Thanks, Mark. Or one of them, anyway. For the last 20 years, I've spent a lot of time in greasy spoons like this one, drinking bottomless cups of coffee, soaking up the local color, and writing short stories about the people I've met while filming a TV show called Dirty Jobs. If you saw Dirty Jobs, you know that it took me to all 50 states and allowed me to work alongside hundreds of hardworking Americans, men and women who do the kinds of jobs that make civilized life possible for the rest of us. Well, this movie is not about those Americans, at least not entirely. This movie is about some other Americans I've been writing about lately. Americans I've never met, but always admired. Americans who risked everything to build the country we call home. Shouldn't you be at work, Tom?
Technically.
Forget about that $20 here.
Oh, thanks. You're real generous.
I'm a giver. Barb, how are you?
Everything?
As always, I'd give it 2, maybe 2.5 stars. On a scale of 3.
Oh, I'm glad you're happy.
I'm always
Just come
happy.
back.
I always come back. Keep change.
Oh, thank you.
Dave, behave yourself, brother. Full disclosure, I'm not an expert or a historian. I'm just the son of a social studies teacher with an appreciation for the people who built our country. So I thought it might be fun to share a few of the stories I've written over the years about some of the most impressive Americans I've ever read about. And along the way, I thought I'd take a trip to our nation's capital, not too far from where I grew up, to reacquaint myself with the memorials and the monuments that have been built to honor the people in the stories you're about to hear. In other words, it's a field trip, and I'm glad you're along for the ride. Assuming the old truck makes it. It's gonna be fine. Just a quick word about these stories before we dive in. They're actually short mysteries, written in the style of an old radio program I used to love called The Rest of the Story by Paul Harvey. With Paul Harvey's mysteries, you got to hear a story that you had never heard before about somebody famous that you already know. Your job as a listener was to try and figure out who he was talking about before he got to the end of the mystery. These stories are a lot like that too. Each one starts with me on the stage in an empty theater and quickly turns into something altogether different. Probably easiest just to show you what I'm talking about, but do me a favor. If you figure out who it is I'm talking about before we get to the end, don't yell out the answer. Studies show that people sitting around you hate that. Anyway, this is something to stand for.